Should you be a part-time agent? I recently had a conversation with a friend, and I've been having this conversation a lot lately of people thinking about getting their license and should they be a part-time agent? Should they dive in it full-time? So in today's video, we're going to discuss, should you be a part-time agent or should you start part-time and slowly build up to a full-time role? And this video is going to be in 3 different parts. The first part is really going to have this logical conversation, this logical way of thinking to where if you need to tell your husband or your wife or your spouse, hey, I'm thinking about getting my license. Here is an argument that you can have that you can be ready for whenever they're like, well, how much does it cost? What do you have to do? So on and so forth, that you can have a logical argument with them or yourself in your mind if you should be a part-time agent. And then after that, we're going to get into being an agent and all that type of stuff. And also, if you guys are looking to get your license or you're an agent and you're trying to learn the business or do marketing differently, reach out to me on social media. We'd love to connect with you guys. I help agents grow their business and grow and teach them how to market themselves online so that they can lead generate. So part number 1, how to explain to your spouse or yourself if you should be a real estate agent. So more often than not, the very first thing, whether you're talking to a spouse or yourself, is how much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? And what do I have to do to become a real estate agent? Usually when you talk to your spouse, they're like, we don't want to lose money. How much money do we have to spend on this? That's a usual thing that comes up, especially when I talk to people about getting their license. So usually the cost to start, I'm gonna break down all the costs. This is gonna be very general. I'm in the state of Tennessee, but I got my license in Florida. So it depends on what state you're in, what your costs are, but we're just gonna go through it real quick. So you're gonna spend anywhere from $300 to $600 for the real estate course that you have to take. After that, you're gonna spend anywhere from $100 to $300 for background check, fingerprinting, for the actual state and national tests that you have to sit for any book preps or any supplies like that. You're gonna spend about $100 to $300. Then after that, you have joining a brokerage. There's probably hundreds of brokerages that you can join. Definitely check out Real Broker, which is where I'm part of. I have other videos explaining why Real Broker is the best brokerage, in my opinion, for any new seasoned agent or an agent trying to change up their business. Again, I help people, I mentor people. Reach out to me if you have any specific questions. But that's going to be anywhere from $200 to $500 to joining a brokerage. And also note, if you're brand new, don't join somewhere because they're the cheapest. They're the cheapest because they're going to give you the less resources. And when you're brand new, you usually need resources. You need a lot of help, just a side note. And then it's the big cost. And this is going to range big time for anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 or $4,000, and that's to join the local Realtors Association. This is where you get MLS access. This is where you get, super lockbox access. You get your background checks, and you get all this type of stuff. This is where the big cost is, and this is typically a yearly type of fee. So, for example, I believe I paid about $1,500 to join, and then every year, twice a year, I think in May and December, we have a $500 ongoing fee. So this is really the biggest cost for you. So adding all this together, it's going to be anywhere from $1,600 to about $4,000, $4,500 to go from not licensed at all to doing the classes, doing the courses, taking the test, joining a brokerage, joining your realtor association, and being ready to sell. That's the total cost. So whenever your spouse or yourself are thinking, what's the cost? You can say anywhere from $1,500 to about $4,500. Now, we have the cost, right? Okay, so how do we make it worth it that we want to get our license? It's not just about spending money, it's actually about making money. So something that I also do with people is like, okay, let's get the average house price in your area. For this, I use the average home price in the US, which is $514,000. So I actually got the average house price, which is $514,000. I personally like the median price point, which is $398,000, but we're just gonna go in the middle here and use about $450,000 of a house price. Again, you can change these numbers if your prices are way higher or way lower, but I'm just using about $450,000 so we can see how much money we're actually gonna make per transaction. So $450,000 at 2.5%. Again, this is negotiable. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 3.5, it could be 6, it could be 1. And everything in between. I'm just using 2.5. You're gonna make about $11,250 gross revenue. Now, sounds like a lot of money, right? But hey, guess what? You're a contractor. You're a 1099. You're no longer an employee. You have to deduct all your expenses plus your taxes and everything else. So let's go ahead and do that. So your revenue is $11,250. We're gonna deduct about $2,250 or 20% for taxes. Again, some states you're gonna have to deduct 30 or 40% just to be safe. Some states it might be 15%. I usually do about 20% here in the state of Tennessee, and I'm pretty good to go whenever it is tax time. So $2,250 for taxes. And then you have your broker split. Again, going back to what I said earlier, don't join somewhere that is the cheapest. There's a lot of low rate brokerages, meaning from every transaction, they only take $200 or $500 from your transaction. And that's because they give you zero resources, zero help, and nothing at all. And there's other brokerages that take a ton of money, 30% or more from every single transaction. My brokerage is a 85-15 split, meaning you keep 85% and then that 15% goes towards the brokerage, and you keep paying them 15% of every single transaction until you cap at $12,000, and then you start to keep 100%. Now, for that 15%, you get a ton of resources like mentors, training, so many other things we're not going to get into this video. I have other videos discussing that, but your broker split on this one, if you are here at Real Brokers 15%, it's going to be $1,687.50, and you're going to be left with a profit of $7,312.50. Now, I say profit because you will still probably have some form of expenses, whether that's business cards or listing videos or marketing or photography. You're gonna have to buy clothes for work, maybe a different brand that you're trying to pull out. You're gonna have to buy signs for listings. You're gonna have to maybe print out birthday cards to sell. If you're doing mailers, you're gonna have to buy mailers for the subdivision that you're doing. You're gonna have to spend some type of money on marketing. Now, you can go the cheap route like I did. I didn't buy business cards until I was 3 years in, and that was honestly for a specific reason. When I'm meeting somebody and they're like, hey, do you have a business card? Oh man, I'm fresh out, but what's your number? I would get their number and text them. And honestly, what I would do as well, I take a selfie with them and send it in through the text message. That way they know exactly who I was. That's just a sidebar. That's something that I always did. I actually like not having business cards for that specific reason, to get their number right there. So using that $7,312 as a profit, to be conservative, let's say that you're left with about $6,500 of profit per deal. Now you're using about $800 per deal. That's a lot. Again, we're being very conservative because our argument with our spouse is like, hey, I'm being super conservative. It's going to be more than this, but just in case it's the worst thing ever, this is what the number is going to be. And then you have about anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 of ongoing expenses with the Realtors Association. Over here, I spend $500 twice a year. It could be more, it could be less, depending on where you come from. So basically, after those expenses for the Realtor Association, if you just sell one deal, you're still at about $5,500. So if you sell one deal the first year, you basically break even on spending all that money to get your license. So you just have to tell your spouse, if we spend $4,500 and I sell one house in the next 12 months, we make all our money back, and then anything from there is profit. So that's a great argument in my opinion, because yes, it's gonna take you a long time to sell your first deal, but all you have to do is strive for that one deal the first year just to break even. And usually, logically speaking, when we have that argument with our spouse, we can at least let them know like, hey, I promise I'll at least sell one, and even if I don't want to be an agent after that, we'll at least make our money back. Okay, now that we have the cost covered, let's go ahead and move on to the next part. Is why do you want to be a part-time agent, and do you want to stay part-time? Now, there's nothing wrong with staying part-time. There's nothing wrong with going full-time. But first off, why do you want to be an agent? I know a lot of people that are a part-time agent, honestly, to just have that extra income for their family. If they want to go on a really nice vacation once or twice a year, and let's say it costs about $10,000, and we already discussed the numbers that you're going to make about $5,000 to $6,000 per transaction after your first one. So all you have to do is sell two houses, and you have a really nice vacation for your family. If you want 2 nice vacations a year, that's 4 houses. Let's say you have an addition in your house that costs $40,000. You have to sell 8 houses at $5,000 profit each, and you can have that addition on the home. I have a lot of friends that they're part-time in real estate and they raise their kids, and their spouse is the breadwinner, the one that actually makes the money, and their income from real estate really just helps buy cars or helps go on vacation or house additions or doing other things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do with their spouse's income. Theirs is really the extra income, so it works for them being part-time. Now, some of them get full-time, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But why do you want to be a part-time agent? Is it really just to make extra income, to help with the bills, to help with, going on vacation, things of that nature? That's common in the industry and totally something that you can do. Now, part 2 of the video, let's talk about if you can start off being part-time and then grow into a full-time role. I know a lot of times people want to be a real estate agent so bad, but they don't want to start off slow. They want to start off full on as a full-time agent. And there's also another way that you can start full-time, being part of a team. I made other videos describing the difference between being on a team and being a solo agent, but it's the cliff notes of it is if you're on a team, you get leads. They help you convert leads. They have a lot more classes. They teach you a lot more, but it's way more of a full-time position. It's more like a 9 to 5 and you work nights and weekends. They give you the leads, so they expect a lot more from you. Plus they're going to take a bigger cut from you usually. If you have an 85-15 split with the brokerage, meaning you keep 85%, usually they're going to take another half of that, and then it's going to be 50-50. So you really be left over anywhere from 35 to 50% of the total commission out of that. Now, for some people, it's worth it because again, they're giving you leads. So more than likely, you're going to make a lot more money faster. It's a lot faster to make anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000 in your first year being on a team. And then eventually, a lot of times people can just leave a team when they're more established. It's hard to leave a team because they don't teach you how to lead generate. They just give you the leads. So that's something to take into account. But this is not a team video. Can you start part-time? Yes, you absolutely can. I started kind of part-time. I had a full-time job and I started to do lead generating on the side until I started getting enough clients. Now, it was very fast for me. It was about 4 months. I got to the point that I had to choose, am I going to service these clients that are kind of calling me all the time, want to meet me all the time, but I have this full-time job and it's not fair to them. I ended up quitting my job and going full-time into real estate with 0 closings and just kind of praying to God, please lead my life, lead the way. And luckily God provided and I was able to get clients and sustain income-wise and build from there. But a lot of times people start part-time for years. A lot of times people are teachers or they're engineers or whatever profession they're in. They start part-time. They sell 1 to 2, maybe 3 their first year. And then the second year, maybe it's 4 and 5. And then the third year, then it's 10. And then the fourth year, it's 20 and they can go full-time. But like I talked about earlier, some people just want to stay part-time. Some people don't want to have a ton of clients, and we're going to talk about this in the last part of what it actually means to be a real estate agent. Some people don't want to be that busy, and that's totally fine because they just want this extra money. They just want 3 to 5 transactions a year. And it sounds like a lot, especially when you're getting into this because it's so hard to get clients and it's so hard to get closings. But after a couple of years, it's very easy to get 3 to 5 closings a year. At this point in my business, I've been in about 5 years. I can get 10 to 15 closings a year without doing anything just because I've been in the business for so long. I get repeat clients, and that's something that you have to take into account. It's kind of like a cycle of when you've been in the business for so long, people just start coming back to you and it gets a lot easier. But yes, you can be part-time. Now, here's the thing with being part-time is that even if you have 1 or 2 clients, and especially if they're buyers, you're going to be working on nights and weekends when they are ready to see a house. They have a full-time job just like you. Unless they're relocating, they come on vacation. They're typically working all day just like you. And then after work is when they want to see houses. So after you work, if you have a family or kids or something like that, you're going to have to go show houses. Now, I've been the agent that took my kids with me because my wife was a nurse at the time working 12-hour shifts a day. I was taking my kids to showings, right? On Sundays, you're doing open houses to lead generate, or you're showing 8 hours a day. Again, if you're part-time, maybe just have 1 or 2 clients. It's not that big a deal if you work weekends every now and then, or if you work an afternoon every now and then to get under contract. But just know that you're going to have to work a little bit extra in the times that you would usually want to spend time with your family. And you have to make sure if that's worth it to you or if that's okay for you to do that every now and then to get the extra income you need for whatever your goals are. Now, part 3, we're going to discuss the realities of being an agent, full-time or part-time. I kind of touched on it already. You're going to be working nights and weekends, but it's not as easy as people think. Everybody thinks that they're going to get their license. I thought this. You're going to get your license and your friends and family that love you and trust you, they're just going to call you and they're going to use you. And I started to see my friends and family on social media, more my friends because my family doesn't live in the area, started to use other people. And then I started to learn that they already had established relationship with other realtors that had sold their house and helped them buy their house. I wasn't known for being a real estate agent yet. So in my friends' mind, when they thought about real estate agents, they didn't think of me because I had my corporate job and I was going to school for a long time. They thought of me in a different light. And it wasn't honestly for about a year and a half to 2 years until I started to become the real estate agents in my circle, in my sphere. And then people started to use me. And then people started to reach out. Now, no matter where I go, I get the same question. How's the market? Is it a good time to buy or sell? I'm the real estate agent now. So in people's minds, when they're ready, they start calling me. They start reaching out to me. But it took a while to get there. It took a while to build my brand in my sphere online so that people can start using me and thinking of me as that professional. But that's why it's so hard as a real estate agent, because lead generation is the hardest thing, but it's the one thing that people don't do enough of. And it's why there's like a 90% fail rate within 1 to 2 years as a real estate agent, because you don't get business very easily. Think about it this way. You're a young couple or young family or whatever you are in your life, and you're going to buy a house that's $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. It's the biggest purchase typically of people's lives. They're not going to want to use somebody, have not been doing it for a long time, or even if they do, they might give you a chance. And if you mess up, they're going to want to go with somebody else. So many times early on in my career, I didn't know what to do because I didn't know what to do. And I learned over time, and I would mess up and be like, hey, I'm sorry I messed up. Let's fix it. And people were patient with me. People gave me chances. But again, it wasn't until a year and a half that people started to use me. And you're going to make mistakes along the way. And don't take it personal when your friends use somebody else. Just know that you're going to have to lead generate. And that's why I think it's so important. It depends on what brokerage you join, because if you join the wrong brokerage, you're going to pay a very small fee. But who cares if you don't have any closings? Who cares if you don't have that coach, that mentor that you can call and ask and be like, how do I get clients? How do I do an open house? How do I post on social media? And that's why it's important where you join. So if you're a new agent or an agent that's frustrated at a different brokerage, reach out to me on social media. Let's get on a call or Zoom call or meet up for coffee. Let's discuss how to revitalize your business or get started in the business. I love helping agents grow their business and growing into a space of making that extra income for their family or making that full-time income to better their family's life or better their life. So if you're looking to connect, reach out to me. We'd love to help you. And that's today's video, guys. I hope I was able to answer your questions. If you could be a part-time agent, give you some advice on how to talk to your spouse about getting in the business and some realities of being an agent. Until next time, take care and God bless.